Hey, I'm Diana Richardson, and I'm a sex educator, and you're listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I'm humbled to have Diana Richardson here with me. Diana Richardson has done so many things within her life. I know that I'm going to thoroughly enjoy having this interview with her because she is the author of 8 books, one of them being Cool Sex, for Cool Sex, I do believe. Another one is she initially was a lawyer and she was also a massage therapist. Diane, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Yes People podcast. I really enjoy the fact that you have taken your time to come on. How are you?
Rocking along, Savia.
I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So,
And, really appreciate your interest in the subject of sex, because it's an area where there's not too much education.
that's very true, actually. And I think people initially get very shy when they talk about it, or they feel like it's out of their comfort zone to be able to talk about it.
And, often people think it's something very private. And
Yes,
of course, it's something intimate, but actually, we are all so similar in what, our anxieties, our fears, our little problems with sex. We're all pretty similar.
that's very true.
And, so that's why I have been able to write 8 books on sex, because we're all much the same.
Yes, very
We
true.
might have a different language, we might have a different, we might be eating pasta or Mexican food, you know, but it all comes down to we have this one thing very much in common. And certainly I couldn't be teaching couples or writing books if there wasn't a common experience.
Very true. That is very
Mm.
true. I thoroughly, enjoyed reading your book. And I think that's why I wrote so many questions, because I have been educated before by other people who have written books about sex. But I
Okay.
do believe every author is a teacher to me, because of their experiences are always different, and how they interpret things and how they do things are always different. But my first question for you, Diane, is I love knowing the knowledge of where people come from and their background. But could you teach me or tell me about yourself, where you grew up, your culture? It's so important, and how that influenced you to be the person who you are today.
Um, I grew up in South Africa during the apartheid era,
Oh,
and that was very, very difficult. I mean, just to see and live with the injustice and the oppression, and at the same time being one of the privileged class.
okay.
So, you know, that does, and I lived on a farm. I grew up with the Zulus. It was the first language I could speak was Zulu. So I was always tremendously connected uh, with the people. And also in South Africa at that time, and probably even more so now, it was 90% indigenous people or local people and 10% colonials. Um, so anyway, this very difficult situation, I mean, certainly, like I said, for other people, for me as a white, a lot easier, but one goes through a lot of a process. And that's actually what motivated me to be a lawyer.
Wow.
Um, that then there was possibly something that I could do to help people less privileged than me. So I did 6 years at university in Durban, South Africa. And then I got into the courts. And honestly, when I got into the courts, it was so disheartening, because you
Wow.
realize that, you might have laws, but people are interpreting laws and applying things with the prejudice.
Yes, that's true.
You know?
That's true.
And so that was, and I just thought, no, this is not for me. Um, and I just wanted a more loving life, or you know what I'm saying? Like I just realized it would be a lot, have a life a lot in my mind, a lot about thinking. Whereas actually what I really want to do is massage people.
Hey, that puts them at ease, which is fine.
Yeah, you can't do it in the courtroom though. But um, so I just decided, look, just do something that is more heart, from the heart. Even that
Yes.
my motivation was from the heart as far as law goes, but just that, hands on. And so I just became a massage therapist. I actually moved from South Africa to the UK, and massage was something I could do quite naturally, and I think many people can.
Yeah.
It's just being human, right? Um, but of course, I did the odd training, got a little certificate, and also a certificate to teach. So already in like wow, early 80s, I was teaching massage in London when it was very, very
Ooh.
rare.
Ah.
Even massage courses and so on. I had little clinics in London. But anyway, life evolved, and through my engagement with the body, I started to question sex,
As we
more
all do.
deeply. And I got some information from two sources. One was a man called Barry Long in Australia who did two amazing cassette tapes that they were at the time called Making Love.
Oh.
Um, and I listened to them in 1982 the first time. And then I also parallel came across some information from a spiritual master called Osho in India.
Yes.
So with these two sources, I just started to play around, and honestly, I had no idea that I would end up being a sex educator or write books or somehow be able to talk about it. It was more just I was curious. So we just made little steps, and I was really like so blown away by making small little adjustments in the genital connection
Ah,
and
okay.
how the genitals are together,
Yes.
the attitude of the people. It just made a huge difference to how I felt, to how I perceived myself, how I related to people, to women, to men. So it has been very organic. And then because I was in India living in a big community, people started to come to me to ask questions spontaneously. Not that I kind of put it around that I was exploring, but I found I could answer their questions. And that was interesting. And then that led to, okay, let me get some couples together and we do something. And also, I decided to try a book. And actually, the first book I wrote, The Heart of Tantric Sex,
Yes.
uh, I wrote that in 1996. And my motivation there was, can I put in words, printed words, what I experienced in my body? And I found I could.
See.
So, one thing led to another.
Yeah.
So here we are today.
See, I
Yeah.
love that. See, another one that most probably connects, and I love the fact that you've explored and you've traveled as well, because I think traveling is so important to enhance what you do as a writer, I believe. But another question I love to ask is, who do you see when you look in the mirror? Because that's a question I love to ask people. Who do you see, Diana, when you look in the mirror? And what does your reflection say back to you as a person? It's interesting.
Yeah, no, no, it's sweet. It's just something I never really think about. I just,
Ah,
yeah, yeah. Uh, so, I do like I'm looking at myself now on the screen and I see myself and I feel good. Obviously the body ages and so on, but internally, through this, exploration, it really gives a different connection to the body,
exactly.
to, to one's self-value, to one's, self-worth, and also, when you change your ideas about sex, many things, the way you see them, uh, are altered.
That's true. That's very,
Uh,
very true.
and often there is the sadness, that sex leads to so much unhappiness and discontent, um, that more people don't explore and create a new reality for themselves.
Why is it that sex makes people unhappy? Because it should be a bonding of two people coming together.
Well, that is right. It's really about bonding and love, but it's more the style of sex we have
Okay.
actually then creates difficulties between a couple. But it's not to do with sex per se. It's really to do with how we do it.
Yes.
And the how we do it is we are not educated. Okay, we might have biology classes and so on um, at school, but nobody actually talks about bringing the bodies together, aside from the biological aspects of fertilization and so on. Um, and basically, our education is through imprinting,
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
visually being imprinted. Uh, Also, so it becomes like our whole system becomes kind of conditioned. It all happens unconsciously. So that's why we all pretty much have sex in the same style and have the same kind of expectations and letdowns. And basically, the style that we are imprinted with is that sex is about getting more and more hot,
Yeah.
more and more sensation, building up intensity. And this has many consequences. One is men ejaculate very quickly.
Yes, that's very true.
And also there's not enough time usually for women to join in.
Yeah.
Often it's just a few minutes. Uh, so people think, men, for instance, they walk around with tremendous performance pressure, which is very devalidating, if that's a word.
Yeah.
Um, it creates a lot of doubt and anxiety. So then every time you come into a possible sexual exchange, you're just so anxious that you're going to ejaculate too early, and then of course you do. Um, so it's the whole way is to cool the whole thing down. To lower the sexual temperature. Um, then that enables sex to last longer. And also, you're more likely for a woman to be, satisfied,
Yeah.
because one reality is that, you know, of course, I speak in generalization, so it's not 100% true for everybody, but the female body is such that it warms up more slowly.
Yes, that's true.
So actually, for a woman to get really engaged, like more in her like presence and passion, she needs more time to really open up. And this is not something psychological. It's just to do with slightly different bodies.
Yeah.
Um, so, when more time is there, then sex can move to another level. But there is a basic fear with men is of losing erection. And also women have that fear that the man is going to lose erection.
Yeah.
So, often the pattern is that you come together, sorry, not, bring your bodies together.
Yeah.
And you, as soon as erection is there, man wants to get inside woman
Yeah.
because he's afraid to lose the erection. But in woman's timing, it's just way too soon. So you get this kind of like imbalance where woman is just saying, yeah, okay, but not like I'm ready.
Yeah. Because a woman from a younger experience, it takes time. You are right. For now, when I'm thinking of it, even having conversations with people about sex and how it works and how a woman's body works, we are very delicate as well, I believe.
Very, very delicate and sensitive. And our bodies just receive, messages and so on. So if there's a feeling of pressure from the other side, the body,
Or
even if a
reject.
heart wants to be open, the body is just saying, "Hey, hang on a minute."
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. But one of my question when I was reading the book is, it was so nice to have a book for young adults, or when it comes to sex, because today's generation, Diana, is completely different to many other generations, like the older generation. The way you see things, the way you guys see things, and the way the younger generation sees things, it's like, I just want to do it now, and they have no emotion or connection. It's like it's been lost somewhere down the line. Compassion, unconditional love, empathy for making love to someone who you really like, or want to spend the rest of your life with, is gone. It's like young people don't want that anymore, and it's very rare that they do. And so my question really is to you: what made you decide to write this and direct it more to the younger generation of people?
Exactly for the reasons that you are saying, there's more and more this disconnection actually from the heart and from the body.
Yeah.
Plus, there's the whole imprinting of pornography.
Yes. Very true. Yeah.
So this is a big shift. Like in it, I'm 67 now. So when I first had sex, late teens, I had never seen sex before I had sex.
Okay.
And that's very different. You go in with the innocence and the openness, but you know, upcoming generations are seeing sex before they have sex, and this totally brings it more in the mind. And so the idea to write something for young people was just to direct it a little bit more to a younger audience, because the other books are all, young people can read them too, but it was just to make more of a synopsis.
Yes, I like that. I like
Yeah.
that.
And, my experience is that when younger people are given an alternative, like in the way that, I suggest and do in the retreats, because the couple retreats I do, we sometimes get couples early 20s.
Oh,
Equally, we have couples 78, 81.
that's cool.
And so what is interesting with young people, that even though, the ideas and the imprinting, especially the mind and with pornography and sensation, and even that is quite, you know, fixed, we can say, the body is still pretty fluid. So I've noticed that the younger the people, the more easily they get it. How to come
Okay.
back to the body, how to flow, how to be more present. Because as you get older, it can be already starting 30s, but 40s, 50s, you get very identified
Yes,
with
that's true.
this is how I have sex. And so a lot of the thing is about changing your mind.
I was gonna just say, how do you
Yeah,
change your mindset to?
exactly, exactly. And I think the important thing to realize is that basically in sex, as we know it, what I call it conventional sex, the mind is pushing the body.
Mm,
It's not what the body wants. The body has a whole other language.
that's true.
And so, the basic uh, way is to be more present, to be more in the moment, not so fixated on the high point, the orgasm or the ejaculation. And that's another problem. People think that's why we have sex, to come to this peak. But the fact is that um and everyone will be have noticed this, that you having sex, you plugged in, you raising the intensity, hopefully both people come, you know
Yeah. Yeah.
and, but then afterwards suddenly there's this disconnection.
Yeah. I've noticed that within people, is they is passionate, and then all of a sudden it's just, that's it.
Yeah, right. So this is the problem. So we tend to focus our attention of, oh, that was a nice peak I had, but we don't really look at the consequences of that peak. and there's always this feeling of separation, disconnection. With men, it's quite a loss of vitality
That's true.
through releasing semen. So men, we know the jokes, men sleep, snore, da da da, da, and the woman is lying there going, "What happened?" Crying, feeling lonely, abandoned.
Oh,
And so this is very prevalent. And what is interesting is, like, through recent research, is that it's actually to do with some hormones that are released.
okay.
So so in the hot sex style,
Mm.
um, the level of dopamine
That's very
increase,
true. Yes, I've heard that.
and then after that, when the dopamine drops, there's another hormone that comes in called prolactin,
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
and that causes a disconnection. And when you start to make love in a more relaxed style, in a more connected style, then you are inviting the hormone called oxytocin, which is more about expanded good feelings.
Yes.
So look, I don't really talk about hormones and stuff much, but I did mention it in that Cool Sex book
Yeah.
because it's important. Because I think, one should just realize what happens, not because, oh, a hormone, but just
Yeah.
look what happens after hot sex. There's this immediate, like, drop of energy. Whereas if you make love in a more cool style, reduce the sexual temperature, be more present, not focus on, the end, then afterwards you can choose to have an orgasm or not. It doesn't need to finish with a peak.
Yes.
And then you will observe, like, wow, you feel really like
Light and lifted.
fulfilled.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And the connection stays.
See?
So there is this love and bonding. So I think that, like, going back to what you said, people just, especially the younger generations, just is very functional. But it's a little bit like this, until you've had a taste,
Yes, exactly.
you don't know what you're missing. You know what I mean?
One
Or what's the value of something.
one of the things I noticed, I was driving on my way home yesterday, and it's ironic that we are having our interview today. I saw a boy and a girl, and he was, kissing her and so on and so forth outside. But it seemed that she was pushing away. Like you say, she wasn't ready for it. Is that something that women do often? Because it's not the first time I've seen a couple together, Diana, and a guy is kissing a girl and trying to, I don't know if he's trying to show his affection or just literally get in there, but I've seen more women back away and feel slightly uncomfortable. Is there a reason for that? And these would
Yeah,
be the perfect people in your book.
yes, I mean, there is. And it's really good, your observation, because you see it so often. Um, Basically, because we have no body education, and I'm not talking about sport, I'm talking about holding the awareness inside your body.
Yeah.
So what we tend to come is from the mind and on top of somebody.
Okay.
And so that's where that defensiveness comes in. It's just like, hey, but if you can pull down your awareness into your body and come more from the inside out, it's a totally different dynamic. And
Okay.
this is actually what the first step I do with couples is, hey, your body is priority.
Yeah.
You've got to come in and down and start to perceive yourself on a more subtle level from the inside, and then this makes all the difference to a connection. So then, when another body feels the awareness and the consciousness and the sensitivity, then it will open. But it's just this, there's this kind of crossover. Uh, so man is putting, on the outside attention of woman. So there's
Yes.
natural defense, and it can also, work the other way around.
See, I like that. I
And
like that it's
actually,
explained.
sorry, say that again.
I like that it's explained because you've explained it in a way that makes me, as even a young person, understand what the connection is about. But also, do you believe that spirituality also plays a part within two people coming together? Because that is something that a lot of young people are starting to believe more in spirituality.
Well, it emerges through a more conscious approach in sex. So it's not like you have to have a spiritual interest. It's just if you start to become more anchored in your own body, take time, be more present, then comes this more spiritual aspect, spiritual connection,
Okay.
you know. So it's more like a byproduct.
Ah, okay. Okay. I
Yes.
understand it. I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
When I was reading your book, also, there were parts in it about the secret of girls and the secret of guys. I would love for you to go more into depth about those, if that's okay.
Yeah, it's a little complex, but the main secret of girls is that the clitoris is not the most important thing. It's seen very much in conventional terms as the center of female sexuality. Um, but in fact, the clitoris makes excited and kind of like sets up a hunger and also a tension in the vagina, which I myself and I know from having taught many people that often women experience almost like a cramp in the vagina.
Yes.
And but women's sexual energy is her body really opens through the breasts.
Ah,
Right. So this is the big shift. Um, that when a woman is able, and I don't mean it's like stimulating the breasts or, uh, and the nipples and so on, but more like entering from inside. And also man can just, hold you very gently, not hurt and squeeze. Um, because it's from this, we say, this energy raising pole. From here, it raises the energy almost like on a magnetic level, and then it flows down and opens the vagina. And then women get, oh, like, I really want you inside me. Not like, okay, if you're ready, come in, kind of thing. And so that is very important because actually, if you look at the male female, the penis vagina connection,
yes.
one is a channel for energy and the other one is a receptor. So how they meet is very significant. And so if the vagina is like relaxed and open, she's more able to receive male energy. Whereas if she's overexcited and tight and cramped, the male energy cannot be received really. Um, so if we, if women is given time that she can really open, and then man enters her, then it's a totally different connection. Like there's something is flowing, something is received, something is given, and this is what is touching.
Yeah.
Um, so that is the most important thing. And as far as guys go, really to start to um, give women more time and also anchor themselves in the perineum, which is like a little knot of muscle just at the base of the penis, towards in front of the anus, and get more anchored there physically in their body in order to reduce the mental aspect,
Yes, that's true.
and
Yeah.
the imprinting and the images. Um, and also, really, it's so helpful for people to have eye contact.
That's
To
something that doesn't
actually
happen these days as
have,
much.
yeah, even in my day, you switch off the light because you're too embarrassed to have it. But that was when I was young. I started, if I can just say, started to explore when I was 31.
Okay.
Yeah, so now I'm 67, and so the major part of my life has been involved in this alternative style, the cool style, we can say. Um, so yes, and with eyes closed, it's easier to fantasize. So it's very good to have eye contact, but not in a directed, like checking somebody out way, but more just to let somebody in so that you're feeling more inside your body. You're not like focusing on them. So, this is explained, in the book, and there's lots of different exercises to help people um,
There is,
come
yes.
more come more into their bodies, because what we don't really realize is how tense we get during sex. The whole body compresses, and so when we're compressed, vitality or life energy cannot expand. And actually, the more we can relax as we're having sex, relax shoulders, jaw, pelvic floor, suddenly the sweetness, of the exchange, it starts to spread, through the body. So it's really interesting, to challenge what we are just like dished up with, what we inherit, because actually the pornography thing's been going on for a long time,
It has been.
but then it flipped now to online, which makes it that much more accessible.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and it is hard to imagine how changing the way you make love
Yes.
changes your life, but it really, really does. Um, yeah, just a different way of being. And even so, how you are in bed impacts everything that you do during your day. So if you have a content, sweet bed connection, that contentment uh, filters out into everything that you do. Whereas if you have a lot of anxiety and tension and dissatisfaction,
Yes.
um, then you're going to find yourself dissatisfied with everything in your life. So, like I said earlier, in response to your question, why did you write a book for young adults? And it's really like this: check it out. If you have somebody in your life, that you do have some kind of feelings for and want to make love with, check it out because it is fascinating.
I like that. I like the way you said that. Because it is, it's a really good book, and you know what I love about the book is easy to read. It's not complicated. There are books out there that talk about sex for young people or even teenagers, and you'll read it, but it won't soak into your system about what you've just read. Especially me, myself being dyslexic, it's always nice to read a book that is easy flowing and understandable so you can translate that information to somebody else.
Right. Well, that's beautiful. Yes. And I think the reason, and I get this a lot about, all my books, is just, it's something that sinks in.
Yeah,
So even through reading it, something changes. It's not like you have to do ABC.
it's really simple.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is like that. Sex is simple if we have the keys. And, there's quite a few keys uh, written in my book. Um, and when I say fascinating, I mean, not my book per se, but just the whole
Oh,
subject. That was sweet you when you said, well, my book is good. But yeah, the younger one can start, the better.
yes.
That is the basic message.
How,
And
how,
if I can say this, it's not what you do, but it's
yes,
how
how
you do
you
it.
do it.
And the minute you're more conscious, more aware, it changes the experience. But that can also be with cooking. It can be with walking.
That's true.
So
That is
these
very
things are
true.
not separate. So we have just lost this how to be conscious in the body. We're much more mechanical. We spend so much time thinking, not feeling. So it's a big shift from being more focused on the outside to, you know, entering the interiority of your body.
I like that. I like the way you put things so eloquently into a conversation with me. It
Oh,
feels so nice to be able to talk to someone so easily and understand things.
well, I have to say that it's great to talk to you, you
Oh,
know, because you're a perceptive person, you're investigating.
yeah.
And so that just makes it so much richer and
Yeah.
more nice for me, you know.
I
So
I
the blessings are for you. Yeah.
Aw. Every time I do research on someone, I have like their book, I have like things about them on my laptop. And I know people can't see this, so you might see me moving around, but it's just because I love knowing more about the person who I'm interviewing. I think it's so important to know that, especially when you've taken the time to write a book that could impact thousands or even millions of people within their life, because sex is something that all of us will have or do within our lives at some point. And it's nice to know that there are avenues of being able to understand what sex is or even love making and is, because unconditional love within love making is very important, Diana, and I'm sure you know this as well. A question that I did want to ask you is, what was it like for you deciding to experiment later in life rather than more earlier in life?
Well, I considered 31 pretty early.
Okay.
Um, in relation to like the people who come to me, generally
Yeah.
speaking, are all in their 40s and 50s. And even that I said we do get young people. Um, I have to say I did not have, in my terms, an unhappy sex life. I was actually quite happy with it.
Oh,
But it was just like, oh, this is interesting information that I got from these two sources. Let me try it. So it was not even a big decision. I had the man in my life who was willing to experiment. And it's just so it was just a little, the word is curiosity.
the perfect word is curiosity.
And, some people say, oh, it must have taken a lot of courage. Look, a little courage is needed in the sense you just want to be more authentic,
Hmm.
which requires to be a little bit, more vulnerable. Um, but it's just, sex is the foundation of our whole energy system. We kind of think it's one corner, but if we rearrange things or have a different experience in the base, this, then affects everything. Everything flows from that. It's life, the life energy. We say sex energy, but it's life energy. So if you change your sex, then many things will change. So, you know, I think, yeah, it was not a big decision. Okay, I had to find somebody who was willing to experiment, but that's not
Exactly.
difficult, because you spend a lot of time in bed, and that's lovely.
I'm not gonna deny it is lovely.
Yeah, yeah.
What is your philosophy on life? Because that's something I would love to. Oh, I love this. Eyes went wide open when I said that.
I'm not a thinker. I'm not a philosopher.
Yes,
Uh, I'm just a person in a body who's made a lot of experiences through my body, and these, apply to all of us. So, I if there, it's just to live in the present, to live today, to live now, because it's the only reality.
that's
And
true.
now is your body. We find the present moment, we find the now in the body. So the more attention you can give to the body, like now I can feel how I'm sitting, I could make a little bit of an adjustment that
Yes.
I feel more present. So, I'm leaning forward, I'm taking one of my buttocks, pulling it out 45 degrees, taking the other buttock, putting it at fully 45 degrees, and boom, my spine is straighter. I
See,
immediately feel more here. um, m yeah, more present, more energy available, in my body. I can feel sparkling everywhere. So, it's to live a life connected to the body and more in the present. Um, and that is why this body interest is so important. That's why there's so many exercises in that book.
Yes, there
uh,
is.
to come back to your body, because that is the basic truth. Look, of course, I still have a tendency to think about all the 101 things I have to do and thinking, but I'm always reminding myself, I'm back to now, or I might be at the computer totally collapsed and the shoulder up, and then I straighten myself up and continue until, 10 minutes later, I go, oh my God, you collapsed again. You didn't even notice,
Yeah.
these little shifts. So it's to use the body as a reference point to the present. Because actually, all spiritual masters will say the present moment is where it's all happening. And we think, oh, how do I get to the present moment? It is so simple.
It's here.
Your body is the bridge.
Yeah.
And when you can, access your what I call the inner body, and the very fine vibrations of energy, fine vibration of love in the body, then this amplifies, and raises the level of one's moment by moment experience, and then definitely in sex as well.
See, I like that. If there was a question that you wish, Diana, more people would ask that they don't normally ask you, what would that question be?
Wow, you're very deep, Savia.
It's
Because
my
it's
spiritual
interesting. I do,
nature.
I have a lot of people asking me questions since years, and also do quite a lot of things with online, like with you now.
Yeah.
Um, and the questions are basically much the same, because it's coming from our understanding of sex as we know it. So often I do think, well, it would be lovely to get some more questions, but to be honest, I can't really say, without thinking about it too much. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really like for people to ask more about what is the value.
Ah.
What is the real value? But of course, in many ways, I am trying to convey that, in the books and in my courses and so on. Um, but people can't really get the value until they've had a taste. So if you say bam, 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 it's still entering them on a mind level. It's not an experiential level. And that's why, the couple seminars I do, it's all experiential. There's a little bit of talking, then you go and try it, but it's how to help people to anchor in their body, how to stand good, how to soften tensions, how to breathe good. Um, to give them more access to what like I said, the inner body. Um, so yeah, but that's a good question. Maybe we have another talk another day.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I have like I said, I have loads of questions for you, but it's nice to be able to just have a smooth, free flowing conversation with you. And
Yeah.
it was so simple and easy to be able to talk to you. Do you have any advice for anyone before they pick up your book and decide to read your book? Diana, what advice would you give the younger generation about connecting together and just being happy about experimenting?
Yes, the first thing is like to take your body more sincerely. So that's independently of if you know, in a couple, um, and start to invest more awareness in the body. How you walk, how you sit, how you stand, soften tensions. It's all revolving around the same point, and it's about being conscious in the body and accessing the present moment. And so, excuse me, that is something you can do anytime. And then that consciousness, that interest in the body, is just like a natural bridge. Well, this body also makes love. So how can I incorporate that into it? I would say what is really, really helpful is that if you are in a partnership, that you actually decide to make love.
Yeah.
That you say, okay, where's a comfortable place? Where can we be? Let's take 3 hours or 2 hours, but open up the time frame, because average sex is 15, 20 minutes now, and we never know really when it's going to happen.
That's true.
So, but if you decide, boom, let's just go and lie together, no big expectations, kiss, cuddle, take a few tips from the book, um, and just make it more of an occasion rather than something accidental, basically. And that helps a lot to get more internalized, into interiority of your body, and more conscious when you come together. You know what you're doing, why you're doing it, you're being playful. And that is also a thing, just be playful. With sex, we get extremely serious. So one thing goes like a little bit off kilter or not on track, it doesn't work, we get tremendously serious about it. Instead, sometimes you just have to laugh because funny things happen.
I do
And
that.
so, yeah, really just to say, sex is a vital part of life. And a lot of people end up not having sex at the end of their lives because it doesn't work. So if you want to make something more sustainable, you know, for your life, that also enhances and makes relationships more sustainable and loving, um, definitely explore sex. There's so much out there today in the way of distractions and entertainment, but the
Yes, that's
best
true.
one, the best one is really right here between our legs.
See, there you go, guys. Experiment with yourself too.
And
I like that.
yeah, look, masturbation and that is very prevalent, but this also creates, also a lot of anxiety afterwards, a lot of tension afterwards. The same kind of as what happens with hot sex and coming, that often there's this feeling of not being well in the body, even that
Yeah.
in your mind you go, oh, like that was great to come. But the young people, you know I get messages sometimes from some boys or young teenagers who are really masturbating many times a day, and rather to move that energy in a different way, do more exercise, something that you enjoy to do, tai chi, jogging, gym,
Yoga.
but not in a mechanical way, something that really helps you to be more inside your body. Um, so yeah, it's not that masturbation per se is wrong, it's just a natural thing, but it's just start to conserve that life energy. Um, And it's the same for women, when we do these quick peeks with the clitoris and so on. Afterwards, there might be an immediate feeling of, oh, I'm relaxed, I can sleep now or something.
Yeah.
But then, a couple of days down the road, if you observe, you'll find something goes off track.
Yeah. That's true. I'm glad you said that to me. So, Diana, is this book for heterosexual couples or is it for same sex couples?
Well, that is a good question. My personal experience is heterosexual, so it is essentially for heterosexuals. But the thing is, with same-sex couples, there's a lot of principles that are
Yes.
mentioned in the book that any two people can pull into their body connection, their presence, their awareness. So it you know that is mentioned in the book.
Mhm.
And really, with same-sex, of course, there's going to be some genital details that are
Of
a little
course.
different. But it's really, it's really a field for exploration. And any two people who are more aware with each other, more conscious with each other, this is like spiritual alchemy. Love is generated.
Yes.
So in that way, yes, I write from my experience, but the principles can be applied. Of course, I have, here and there worked with same-sex couples, a long time ago now, and it really works.
See?
They were all just blown away. So yeah, so I think that the thing with same-sex couples is to read the book with an open mind,
Mhm.
and just take what they can from there. And definitely, like I say, any awareness, any consciousness will transform the sexual exchange and elevate the love and the caring and the empathy that you mentioned at one point.
See? I like that. I have so many more, but I know time is restricted for us. I know time is really restricted for us. So what I'll do is, on a high note, I have just one more question for you, and that is purely, where can we find you if anybody would like to get in touch with you or even buy your book? Diana, where would they be able to find you?
Right, lovely. Thank you, Savia. Look, I have a website, www.livinglove.com, and all my books and I've got movies and different things are listed there. And there's also a contact address.
Perfect.
So people can contact me, just to be aware to check your spam filter.
Exactly. Yeah.
My reply doesn't end up in spam. And yeah, and I have no social media. Like I explained to you before we started the interview, I'm still in the cave, and like you said, it's good to be in the cave,
I
and
think
I'm
it's
happy
good.
with that.
Yeah. I wish I was
Yeah.
in the cave, Diana, to be quite honest with you. I think it's a more peaceful place to be in, and peace is something that I always believe in and love, being in that space of peace. So social media, if you filter it out, plays a big part of finding your peace in a way, because
Right.
you're
Well, you've got a beautiful quality in your voice,
thank you.
so that shows peace is there
Thank you.
and love is there.
Diana, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Yes People podcast. I thoroughly enjoyed your peace, your calmness, but also your knowledge towards the listeners who will be listening to this podcast. And I'm sure they will definitely find something to take with them and take it throughout their life. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Really, it's been such a joy to talk to you, Savia. You definitely rock.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, guys. Thank you so much for listening to the Yes People podcast. And please remember, you can subscribe to Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer listening to. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can also donate to the Yes People podcast by simply going to the Savia Rocks website or just typing in paypal.me/Us People podcast. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another.
You really asked me things that other people haven't asked, and honestly, I've been talking for a long time. So
See you.